What is going on, everybody? This is not my usual type of video. I don't normally try to compile a video like this, and I actually don't know how to edit videos very well, but however, I still think I can make a pretty good point with what I'm trying to say. So if you don't know, the new Dynamax adventure raids were released for the Crown Tundra. You can get legendaries, and the legendaries aren't actually shiny locked, which is pretty crazy. I think a lot of people are anticipating shiny locks because of how complex the raids seem to be. It didn't seem that Game Freak could actually produce a method that allowed you to go through multiple raids, get a shiny legendary, and be huntable. So they really outdid themselves. I'm gonna avoid talking about the mechanics as a whole and just go over just briefly what it does. So Dynamax Adventures is just a gauntlet. Basically, you battle 4 Pokemon, including 1 legendary. You can only have 4 deaths per gauntlet. You can't save at any time unless it's right before the start of the raid, where it's a mandatory save. All the Pokemon that you catch have a 100% catch rate. The odds within this place, though, are 1 in 300 for shiny Pokemon and 1 in 100 if you have a shiny charm. These raids cannot be RNG manipulated like previous raids, so you're not seeing the crazy amount of influx of shinies where people would just have shiny raids all the time. You actually have to sort of work the RNG this time. You actually have to roll the dice instead of manipulating it to your favor. It's really fascinating. It doesn't calculate the Pokemon when you enter the room. In fact, the Pokemon will never show up shiny during the battle. It will only show up shiny after you've caught it. You can rematch legendaries, though. If you get a non-shiny legendary, you can choose not to keep it and manage to keep the raid route and continue for that raid over and over again. So it does give you a method to hunt this while still being able to keep the raid consistently. So that being said, if you don't know how this works, you can probably just watch another video on it. What I'm here to talk about are these odds. These odds are freaking crazy. These odds have probably not been that low since Crystal version odd egg nonsense, and Crystal version and Generation 2 in general, being able to get shiny Pokemon via breeding a whole lot easier, because whenever you breed with a shiny Pokemon, the odds are like 1 in 64. So 1 in 300 is really low, and 1 in 100 with Charm is especially low. I did not expect the odds to be this low. It's actually kind of crazy. However, as you will see, context is everything, and you will see why in the end these are actually perfectly fine odds, and actually you can make the argument that they could be lower and still balance. But we'll move on and get onto that later. So I'm just going to show you times for other generations and other hunts and how those compare to Dynamax. So Lugia in Heart Gold Soul Silver, it's about a 30-second reset time. I rounded it up from like 28 seconds because that's really, you could realistically do 28 seconds, but I'm just doing 30 seconds because that's probably a more realistic time for people, because some people wait till the animation stops. Some people may not even have animations turned on. There's several reasons why, but I just chose to go 30. And if you were to go and watch a video of someone doing a shiny Lugia reset or a regular, Lugia hunt, you would be able to see that 30 seconds is a pretty reasonable time. That brings the amount of resets per hour that you can do to 120. So what I did was I divided 8192 divided by 120, and this is how long it's going to take for you to hit odds based on how many systems you're doing. Granted, you're doing 30 seconds per reset on each system simultaneously. This isn't perfect, however, even if you count for margin for error, it won't really matter as much, and I'll explain why later on in the video. So this, you start out at 68 hours, 34, 22, 17. I included up to 4 systems because I feel like it's not unreasonable for people to have 4 systems nowadays. A lot of people are in the multi-system gang and just, do 4. I've seen more quad capture cards than I have ever seen from people who don't even really have a Twitch presence. So this isn't like, anything crazy in my opinion to say, and I could have actually add 5, 6, 7, or 8 systems because I've seen plenty of people do that. However, I think this is more realistic. It fits the point quite nicely, and it's easier to do 17 hours of 4 systems consistently with a decent setup than it is to do 8 systems. So this is what you're looking at for 18192. Now let's move on to a halved odds game like 6th and 7th gen. What do the odds look like for that? Well, if you're hunting Xerneas, and this is probably applies to a lot of the Ultra Beasts as well. I just chose Xerneas because that's the hunt I'm doing right now on the side. The reset time is 21 seconds. It's really fast. Even just by saving 9 seconds, you're able to do 171 resets an hour, so that's like 51 more resets per hour. The hours to hit odds for this, it's almost 24, meaning if I went 24 hours of non-stop resetting, I could hit odds in a day. Obviously that's not realistic, but it's just to give a good example. And 2 systems is which is not, I would say, uncommon either, because a lot of people, when Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon came out, were double hunting version exclusives all the time. Xerneas, Yveltal, Kartana, Celesteela, etc. So just to refresh, Lugia's highest number, well, you can price Lugia with Ho-Oh, but Gen 4 legendaries in general that are static encounters, you're going to be looking at 68 hours for one system at, worse probably. Granted, you're not doing a roamer or anything else. And with, Xerneas and other legendaries and Ultra Beasts, you're going to be looking at about, 23.95, 24 hours to hit odds on one system. So, how do Dynamax Adventure odds? How do Dynamax Adventure odds compare with 1 in 300 without the Shiny Charm and 1 in 100 with the Charm? You are looking at 75 hours. 75 hours. The raid times are about 15 minutes, and I don't think that's anything crazy. I know people have been saying, well, it's probably about 10 to 15. I think 15 is a lot more accurate, and the reason why I say that is because you're almost certainly going to want to do this with friends if you want consistently good raids. I have done raids with basically nothing but my friends with the last probably 50 raids, and I've only had one loss. So it was due to RNG basically, which I'll dive more into that later. But if you do faster raids, which means playing with AI, you're gonna lose a lot more. And losing a raid loses a lot more than 15 minutes, because you're gonna have to do, another maybe 5 to 6, 7 minutes of raids plus another 10 minutes of raids, and you may lose that one too. So I think 15 minutes is a really good average. If you have a team, you guys know basic type matchups, you guys are looking at the Cerebi page where they keep the full list of Pokemon that you can get and know their movesets and know how to utilize them for the appropriate legendary. But even 25 hours is a very long time in my opinion for a method that has shiny charms stacked with it. I mean, to just go back to Lugia, triple hunting this, it would still only take you 22.76 hours. With shiny charm 1 in 100, you're going to be looking at 25 hours. And I would say they could have these odds right here. They could have this to 1 in 150. This would still be, what 37.5? That's still really not that bad when you compare it to Xerneas and when you compare it to double Lugia at 1 in 8192. So if you reduce this to 10 minutes, this just drops this down to 50. And 50 hours, again, is still a lot longer than this. And it's definitely longer than this. It's about double the time it takes. So, I really do think Game Freak knew what they were doing. It's quite clear that this method is not as easy as people make it seem to be. Now, is the general public as a whole going to get shinies easier? And I think the answer is yes. Because when you line up, let's just hypothetically say 10,000 people, obviously a lot more people are going to have a random shiny than if you had, 10,000 people do a legendary encounter on, a 1 in 8 192 game. However, think about how many of those people are going to consistently hunt and consistently get shinies after the fact. Sure, there may be another guy who gets a lucky second legendary. However, you're not going to have a lot of people who get all four of the tabus. You're not going to see people get the light trio, Solgaleo, Lunala, and Necrozma. It's just not going to happen. These people are more than likely going to have to hunt quite a bit, even if they have charm, just to get what they want. And again, if you go double odds, well, there you go. You're spending 50 hours. You go double odds for this, you're spending 150 hours. Or if you're just getting slow raid times, you'll be getting higher. Averages and whatnot. I mean, come on. If you spend 20 hours per raid, you're only getting 3 raids per hour. It's going to take you 100 hours. This will jump this up to 100 hours just to hit odds. And unless you're hunting Coliseum, where that probably happens on the regular, this is pretty crazy. So I thought I'd just make a video on this because I see a lot of misconceptions on the timeline, and this doesn't even account for all the shit that you can't control. Raid hosting is fucked. I can host a raid with a specific link code, and for some reason I can get 2 people to connect, but the last person won't be able to connect. This happens literally all the time. Randoms throwing. I mean, if you don't have friends that can play, they got kids, they got jobs, they got, they just don't want to play. They want to do something else. They want to play a different game. They want to shiny hunt outside of Dynamax Adventures. Well, guess what? You're going to be playing with randoms, and randoms are terrible. Just a lot of people just don't get type matchups, and it's quite obvious. I mean, I knew this from playing basic raids, where people, even with Eternatus and Zacian and Zamazenta, still didn't know how to use them properly in raids. And couple that with, oh, well, I don't want to play with randoms online. I'm just going to play with AI. The AI sucks. The AI almost always sets up, if it has a setup move. It almost always uses utility moves incorrectly. It's just bad. Nintendo servers cause you to lag. I've once black screened on a raid transition for like almost half a minute, and I had to wait for it to play out until it actually came back online. I've had a friend disconnect. I've had, and if you disconnect, the good thing is if you disconnect, you don't lose the raid. It's just the people you get with are randoms, or not randoms, but AI. So there's just a lot of things that are going on. You can get bad team RNG. I can have, the best technical skills for Pokemon, and it's not gonna matter if I get a freaking grapple locked right before I get, to Lunala or something, and that's the only good Pokemon I can use. Or if I get a Pokemon like Drifblim, a Ghost type Pokemon that doesn't even have any Ghost type moves, against a legendary that is quad weak to Ghost. So there's also the bad general RNG. You don't have to deal with any of this shit right here. You don't have to deal with any of this shit right here if you're just doing this or this. I just have to spam A. My ability to get resets done, hit odds, and get a shiny is purely judged based on my ability to mash buttons all day. This shit, I have to get team members that will listen and know what to do. I have to deal with Nintendo's bullshit ass servers, and I just I gotta deal with everybody's schedule. It's just really, really difficult in the grand scheme of things. And I don't think people are giving Nintendo or Game Freak rather, a lot the credit they kind of deserve for managing to balance out a method and creating co-op shiny hunting all at the same time while fixing the problem with raids being just manipulated to hell, where you can just have one person hosting a shiny raid for the rest of the day, and it's just free Twitch clout. It's really crazy. They checked all the boxes that I feel like everybody had a problem with raids to begin with, and made it fun at the same time. Despite the fact that I am dealing with bullshit RNG, bullshit team RNG a lot of the time, server lag, having trouble disconnecting, that doesn't happen all the time, and it is honestly the funnest I've ever had playing Pokemon with friends ever, because it's super accessible. You can access this place right before the first gym. So if you haven't given it a try yet, I would highly encourage you to. Maybe just if you only want to do the 7th gen targets because, or Zygarde, because those are the only ones that were locked in previous gens that you can get now, I highly encourage you to. But I just wanted to dispel just kind of the myths that, oh, this is just a piss easy method because of 1 in 300. I beg to differ. I am at how many am I at? I am at like 50 something scene for Lunala, and guess what? I'm not that freaking far along with just 45 scene, and I've done this for probably over 10-12 hours. So I think that this is a very good representation as to what to expect, and just don't just judge this method simply based on these odds. And I didn't even figure in to random encounters, because if you take into random encounters, this drops even lower. So just, if you don't want to do Dynamax Adventure because you don't like max raid battles, I 100% get that. If you don't want to do this because you just want to relax, you just want to mash buttons while you watch Netflix or you watch a TV show, I get that. But I've seen people freaking address the sentiment that they think that this is just easy mode. And I would say that this is probably going to be one of the hardest ways to shiny hunt they've implemented in a while. So, especially in a new game since Gen 6. It's kind of crazy. So, that's all I wanted to say. If you like this video, give it a like. I'm not going to produce many of these, but just, I hope you guys have a good day. Thanks.